Hey, I want to thank you for watching my video today. Today I want to start a new series looking at the life of Jesus and asking the very simple question, who is Jesus? Now you're probably wondering why I'm asking this question. Well, it's very simple. For many of us, I think we get mixed messages about who Jesus is. Recently, I was watching a small snippet of a sermon from a pastor who was talking about one of the more difficult teachings of Jesus. And the pastor said, well, this is not my Jesus. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Isn't the only Jesus there is the Jesus of Scriptures? So over the next several weeks, we're going to be looking at this idea of who is Jesus and look deeply into the Scriptures to understand what the Bible tells us is the historical biblical Jesus, the one that we need to put our faith in, the one that we can trust in, the one that will bring us eternal life. If we worship any other idea of who Jesus is other than the Jesus of the Bible, then we are worshiping and we are putting our faith into a Jesus who is not legitimate and cannot save you. And my goal in everything I do in these videos is to help you understand in a more precise way how we can have a saving grace in Jesus Christ. How we can have a life that has been declared right by the works of Jesus Christ. And unless we worship the true Jesus, we can experience that in our lives. So I thought the best way to start this series would be to look at Matthew chapter 16. In Matthew chapter 16, Jesus takes his disciples to Caesarea Philippi. Now, Caesarea Philippi was the pagan capital, the Greek capital, the Roman capital of the Jewish world. In Caesarea Philippi, you would find temples to every god. And so there in Caesarea Philippi, Jesus takes his disciples to the most worldly place he could think of. And in the shadow of the temple to the god Pan, he asked his disciples a very simple question. He says to them, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" They replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, still others say Jeremiah or one of the other prophets. But you," he asked, "who do you say that I am?" Now here's where I think the disciples go, wait a minute, Jesus. It's one thing for you to ask us what the Pharisees are saying about you or what our neighbors are saying about you or what others are saying about you, but I don't know if I'm quite ready yet to tell you exactly who I think you are. I think they were probably set back by this question. And I think that's why there was silence except for when Peter steps out and says something right away. And now again, this was not out of the character for Peter. Peter very often was the first to speak and very often would put his foot in his own mouth. That's why I like Peter, because I have a tendency to do the same in my life. And I've probably offended more people than I would ever want to, because I have a tendency to say the first thing that comes out of my mind. And if I've ever offended you, I apologize. But anyway, Peter speaks up immediately and says, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And then Jesus said, now think about this. Peter's probably thinking, I messed up again. No, he didn't mess up. He knew exactly who Jesus was. Where the other disciples were unwilling or not yet sure, Peter was confident in who Jesus was. He said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus responded by saying, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, because flesh and blood did not reveal this to you." And that's the thing there that we need to understand. You will never understand who Jesus Christ is in the world. You will never understand who Jesus Christ is in yourself. You will never understand who Jesus Christ is in your humanity, in your flesh and blood. It is only by faith, it is only by the revelation of God that we can truly understand who Jesus Christ is. And on that day, in the height of pagan worship, God revealed to Simon that Jesus was the Christ, that Jesus was the Messiah, that Jesus was the one who had come to the world to redeem the world through his death on the cross. And he goes on and he says, "And I also say to you that you are now Peter," or Petros. The actual Greek word is Petros, which means small rock or pebble. "And upon this rock, Petra, boulder, or mountain, I will build my ecclesia," my church, my assembly. "And I also say to you, my church, my assembly, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it." So here's Peter in the midst of this pagan world, in the midst of his very human life, revealing the truth about Jesus Christ because it came to him from God the Father. Now we have the Lord speaking to us. We have the Lord reaching out to us. But we also have something that's very important to us. We have the scriptures, and the scriptures tell us who Jesus is. So if you think that your Jesus is something different than the Jesus of scriptures, then you are worshiping something that is not Jesus. You are worshiping an idol created by your own human efforts. So who is Jesus? Jesus is a historical biblical figure that said both caring and loving things, but yet also very hard and difficult to understand things. And we're going to be talking about those things so that you can begin to understand who Jesus is. Because I want every one of you who watch these videos to know Jesus Christ, to experience his saving grace, and to experience a life that has been declared righteous by the work of Jesus Christ. That only happens if we worship and if we trust and if we put our faith in the one and only Jesus. Not the Jesus of the world, not the Jesus of our human understanding, but the Jesus of the scriptures. Now, immediately after Jesus had revealed this about Peter, he says, now I want you to be quiet about this, and I need to let you know something. Very soon, I am going to die. I'm going to Jerusalem where I will die. And Peter goes on and he says, no, Lord, this isn't going to happen. And Jesus turns around and the same Peter that he just praised, he now rebukes. He says, get behind me, Satan, for you are a temptation to me. The same Peter who had been bold in telling us who Jesus is, now found himself once again in a worldly perspective, unwilling or unable to understand that the Jesus of scriptures is different than the Jesus the world would want us to think he is. And then Jesus, after rebuking Peter, goes on and he says this. Then Jesus said to his disciples, if anyone wants to follow after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. If we are going to follow Jesus, if we are going to know the saving grace of Jesus Christ, then we have to give up our human understandings of who Jesus is and worship the true Jesus of scriptures. We have to give up our will. We have to give up the world for him. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life because of me will find it. For what will it benefit someone if he gains the whole world yet loses his life? Or what will anyone give in exchange for his own life? I want you to know life. I want you to know both eternal life and abundant life. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to help you to know who the true Jesus is of the scriptures, so that by learning that, you can experience life. By denying yourself, by denying your understanding of who Jesus is, and embracing the Jesus of scriptures, you will inherit life. You will be given new life, new hope, new joy, new peace, even in the midst of our darkest circumstances. So I hope you'll join me over the next few weeks as we go over who Jesus is. If you're watching this video to the end, I ask that you hit the like and that you also subscribe to our channels, because through your subscriptions and your likes of the videos that I post, especially on YouTube, that helps us to spread that message to more and more people. I do these for the purpose of sharing Jesus Christ with as many people as possible. And if you're in the Sandwich area this weekend, join us for church on Sunday as we start a series on making decisions in our life that lead us to life.